I predict this will be a good episode. Huh.
It ought to be. It's on one of my favorite subjects.
What, geese?
Well, there are lots of bird creatures, but fortune telling, seeing the future.
Ooh, that is one of your favorite subjects.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. Let's jump in, AJ.
Okay, welcome to Atlas Shrugged, the Avatar, The Last Airbender podcast. I'm AJ.
I'm Kaylee.
And we are just two married folks watching Avatar, but not just two married folks. There's a distinction between us.
Yeah, it's my favorite show of all time. I've seen it a lot of times.
And I have never seen it before. It's the first time that I am running through Avatar, so so far so good.
So far, so good. We've made it to the second to last disc of book one as we're watching it on my old DVD set.
Digital video disc.
Yeah, so let's get going. This episode, The Fortuneteller. We have met Aang Gang along the water somewhere, hungry as always.
They're always hungry.
What happens but a few things. Number one, there are a few themes we'll talk about today. One, Katara has lost her necklace, which belonged to her mother, so the episode opens with Aang making her a new necklace.
Yeah, not that big a secret. Aang is crushing on Katara, and it's not really reciprocated. I mean, like, the onlooker from the outside can really tell that while she's friendly with him, she's not really, like, she's not into Aang like that.
Yeah, there's like a little bit of an age difference where she's probably already a teenager and he's like, 12, so preteen.
Right. Just a little young for her. Anyway, they're trying to... So she lost her necklace. Aang makes her a new one. And then they are in the process of fetching their dinner when someone comes up on them while they're fighting the platypus bear.
And I love the advice that they shout at him. It's like a mixture of everything you've heard about getting away from a bear versus an alligator versus like anything that might eat you. Run downhill and climb up a tree, then run in zigzags. Like, it's just everything you've ever heard.
Who's giving that advice?
Aang and Katara and Sokka are just yelling at this guy about what to do as the bear, like, comes after him.
Right. Clearly he's had more than one encounter with the platypus bear because he makes out all right.
Yeah, makes out fine because Appa sneaks up behind it and roars. He's like, oh, that's a much bigger creature than I.
Yeah, Appa has a tendency to intimidate pretty much everything.
And Appa's pretty low-key in this episode. Like, he didn't have much to do with the fortune telling, but he had everything to do with shaping the future.
He did, yeah. He was sure. We'll get to that later. So platypus bear, they fight another what I call low effort beast, where it's just a combination of like two earthly creatures. It's a platypus and a bear. What do we call it? Platypus bear. So we get that, and the soothsayer, through her ways, beckons that they come into the village.
And they hear quite a few things about Aunt Wu, especially when they meet young Mang upon entering her studio.
Yeah, Mang is a chatterbox from the get-go. And Mang is telling them all about the soothsayer. Mang looks at Aang, and this musical motif plays that must be a direct. It has to be a direct reference to Musetta's waltz. Okay, so they do like a wah 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 as like a love motif, which is it's got to be a reference. I mean, it's too close and it's too comical that it's not a reference to Musetta's waltz, which I will play right now. So if that sound was a feeling, that is how Mang feels about Aang from the jump.
I love that the love and crush motif also always goes with the same color pattern and like sparkliness. Like we first saw that in the episode with Jet, where Katara is crushing on Mr. Not Peter Pan, but the leader of the Lost Boys in this universe.
Right.
So we see now Aang overwhelmed as he looks at Katara and she's cast in the same light. And then when Mang looks at Aang with his big ears, which Aunt Wu has foretold she will marry some man with massive ears. She's like, first dude my age with big ears. That has to be him.
Right. It was written in the stars.
So Sokka's like just happy for snacks, and Katara obviously wants to have her fortune read, so she goes in for the first reading.
So here's my thing. Do you think that, what's the soothsayer's name?
Aunt Wu.
Aunt Wu. Do you think that Aunt Wu uses the bone method on everybody that she tells their fortune to?
It like didn't sound like she did that for Katara. It sounded like she was reading her hand.
Plus it'd be like kind of disproportionately metal of Aunt Wu to like throw a bone in the fire and be like, oop, I know who you're crushing on, you know. That seems like a silly prediction. But then Aang is eavesdropping. He hears that, Katara is going to fall in love with a very strong bender, and of course he thinks that means him.
He's a very powerful bender.
Mm-hmm. And Aang is like, I'm a very powerful bender.
Right. So the bones never lie, according to Aunt Wu. She seems to use a more dramatic method, which always makes me think right. Aang doesn't announce that he's the Avatar in this episode, but like he always has his arrow tattoo, and Aunt Wu clearly chooses to use a more dramatic method of reading his fortune than she chose for Katara. So either she knows he's the Avatar or senses his great bending ability. And yeah, says the bones never lie. I'll read the cracks and tell you your destiny.
Right. And Aang is told pretty much what he already knows.
Like exactly what he already knows.
He's even complaining about it. He's like, jeez.
Good,
why did I
evil.
spend my 3 tickets on this Fortuneteller?
Good, evil. I already knew that.
Yep.
Tell me about my love life.
Right. He must be hitting that age where that's more important. Mm-hmm.
So she doesn't even then read Sokka. She's like, it's written all over your face, Aunt Wu says. She can see his skepticism, which leads me to believe that she's like a really good fortune teller. Like, she probably can really read people's energies and knows that your fortune's not going to come true if you don't believe in it. So she's like, yeah, Sokka, you're not even worth reading.
Right. Yeah, she's like, I'm not even going to bother with you, Sokka. Your future is already set in stone.
Yeah, so Sokka like feels super isolated in this episode. Like he feels like he's the only one who's actually observing what's around him and not just taking this fortune teller's word for literally everything.
Well, right now they've gone through like 3 or 4 supernatural alignments of like belief and like ways to make sense of the universe, and Sokka, I think, just kind of sees them all as like hocus pocus.
Yeah. You great lover of science and reason. I love that. Like, the people who insult him are just, like, stating facts about Sokka. He's like, yeah.
Right. Meanwhile, Sokka just really, he thinks he has a clue, but he kind of doesn't, which is exemplified in the scene in the square where we find our 2 dudes next. They're having a heart-to-heart moment, right? And Sokka's like, oh, yeah, just play the aloof card. That'll really reel whoever you're trying to reel in. That'll really do it.
What did you think about the red shoes? I know you always like the red shoes motif.
The red shoes, that's really pretty. If you don't know, the red shoes is an old fable about a ballerina. She makes a deal with the devil to become a good dancer. He's like, all right, I got just the thing. And the devil hands her the red shoes, and then she can't take them off, and so she dances till she dies, right?
Yeah.
I think that might be saying something like your fate. Like if you really believe that your fate can be determined by someone with the power to, determine fate, then it could become like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like you can't take the shoes off.
It's exactly because he doesn't take the shoes off.
Right.
I think I love the play between the believers in the fortune teller and just Sokka's skepticism. He's like, of course your fortune's going to come true. How many days have you worn those red shoes since she told you you'll meet the love of your life wearing them? Every day.
Right. And it's that prophecy that makes him like emotionally, or makes this bystander. I'm projecting so much into this bystander's life, but it's like a nature versus nurture argument. Like if that bystander with the red shoes hadn't heard his prophecy like that, would he even be open to finding the love of his life, full stop? Right?
Yeah. And what I always like throughout the entire show, I really like the differences between Katara and Sokka in her like just steadfast trust in her intuition and that things are going to work out that the way they're supposed to, and Sokka's constant skepticism towards everything. But that's what I love about Sokka in this, is he is his overbearing skeptic self, but every time he displays that attitude, like literally something hits him in the head.
Yeah.
He kicks a rock, it comes back and hits him in the head. And that is like
6 times in this episode.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
To me, that's saying like, hey, you're right, but like continue observing, like trust your intuition. The reason you're being so skeptical is probably because you have a gut feeling that something else is coming. Not just that Aunt Wu is wrong, but what is your gut feeling actually telling you, Sokka? And he never like gets to that point.
No, he doesn't. He feels like he's done it all. So what happens next?
Okay. So Mang continues to like make her moves on Aang, and those are not
So
reciprocated.
Right. He could not care less about this because she's kind of a twerp in his eyes too, right?
Yeah, she's like, I always do, cartoon ages by height. So Aang is shorter than Katara and Mang is shorter than Aang. So they're probably all within a few years of each other, but Aang is the older one between those two.
Critical years, yeah. Between those. Right. So Mang is trying to make her move, and Aang is just the most aloof that he could be, which probably has nothing to do with Sokka's advice, because it's not a strategy. It's not a strategy to earn Mang's love. He already has it.
But that shows that Sokka and Katara kind of view Aang the same way. Like, no matter him being the Avatar, he is still a kid. So when Aang approaches his bro, Sokka, like, what do I do about this girl I like? He doesn't assume Katara. He assumes, oh, you're talking about that little girl over in the village who has a crush on you. Wow, he's good at being aloof. Like,
right. Keep doing that. Keep those shoes on.
But after,
so to speak,
then there are 2 big things that happen.
Okay.
Aunt Wu does the cloud reading.
Oh yeah, she's reading in the clouds. Not only can she read the bones and read people's faces and read people's minds and read her bowl of alphabets cereal for predictions, but she can also read the clouds.
So it's my favorite line of the whole episode. A fluffy bunny cloud forecasts doom and destruction. But I guess it's not a fluffy bunny cloud. We see a bending arrow cloud, which is good for crops. And then a bendy moon-shaped cloud, which evidently means good for twins. Then the twins in the village cheer.
Right. All 2 of them.
And then a cumulus with a twisty knob, which means apparently that the village will not be destroyed by the volcano this year.
Avatar is so freaking literary. Even on, like, this is not your favorite episode, but it's not my favorite episode either. But it's just like, so there's such a balance in every episode, which creates a balance in the sum of its parts. as you go on, because motivated by that decision, by the prediction, the prediction that the village will be all right this year and like twins will get a free papaya or something. But motivated by the prediction that the volcano will not blow and like ruin the town, Aang goes up and gets the flower, and he's looking for the flower.
The panda lily.
So only by being assured that the volcano would not blow does Aang go up and realize that it would blow without his intervention. It's like the events that set in motion the actual culmination, the coming true of Aunt Wu's prophecy. It's just really nice.
It is lovely. And I love that Aang and Sokka take that journey together, because Katara is like so invested in getting readings that she's just knocking on Aunt Wu's door constantly, like asking, what should I eat for breakfast tomorrow?
As if it matters, right?
Like, yeah, Katara has a real problem with wanting to fulfill her destiny properly, down to the T.
She's a planner, isn't she?
She is.
Yeah.
So they get up on top of the volcano.
And realize that the volcano has yet to blow, but it's fixing to blow.
It's roiling. It's boiling.
Mm-hmm. Just like Aang in the throes of pre-adolescence. It's finna blow.
And I like, if you remember back, it's finna blow. You remember back to the Hey Bye episode in the spirit world where like Panda almost always represents balance in this world. So like Hey Bye, the panda spirit, was the spirit of the forest that keeps balance between spirits and nature. And in this case, like a panda lily is fortuitous of equal and great love.
A panda lily. Balance between light and darkness. Water, earth, air, fire.
The wrong order, but it's
water,
earth,
air.
No, fire,
air.
For AJ, who probably doesn't know, that order is specific because it is the Avatar cycle order. So it goes water, then earth, then fire, then air, then water, then earth, then fire, then air, forever.
Forever, ever?
Well, so they say. I don't know.
Quack.
Anyway, so what do they do once Sokka and Aang realize, okay, this volcano is going to blow?
They go down and tell the village, don't they?
Duh. And does anyone believe them?
No. The sky's falling. No, it's literally falling. Forget what you heard. We're in really big danger.
Oh, like Aang, how he does. He's the Avatar. It's his job to keep balance between people and nations and spirits. And kind of like he did in the Great Divide episode where he like just straight up lies to the two tribes to like get them to get along. He kind of does the same thing. He and Katara fly up on Appa and after stealing Aunt Wu's cloud guide, what do these cloud shapes mean? They just are like, yeah, the only way to convince these people is to get Aunt Wu to say it, I guess. So they just make the dark mark in the sky.
Right. Like, oh yeah, Aunt Wu, what you gonna say now? Now it's written in the clouds. Never mind that they themselves wrote it, but right, and it works. It's one of Aang's signature peacekeeping strategies is just lying.
Seeing is believing. I'm not sure.
Right.
So yeah, symbol of volcanic doom. They bend the clouds, which is so cool, by the way. Like that's some new bending that they did together that they had never tried, but just like make a perfect omen in the sky.
Water,
interesting.
air, right. Wonder if they could do a UFO next.
Ooh. We'll have to see. Do. Yeah. So that leads into what I think is the ultimate message of the episode, which Aunt Lou will say later on, but shaping your own destiny. What does Aang and Katara reshaping the clouds to show what is actually going to happen ultimately do for the village?
So right when you said reshaping destiny, it's so funny because I've been messing with my microphone for this entire podcast. You could actually probably hear it. It go blub, 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 the thing. You said reshaping my own destiny, and I must have gotten excited by that or something because then I like moved my leg, but then my leg brushed up against the little the little thing on the chair, and I sunk right to the perfect height that I need to be in order to use this microphone.
Yeah, you just fell like 6 inches.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just feel like I shape my own destiny. Anyway, so what does that say about shaping destinies? I think determinism is both. Determinism is the theme of the episode, because then when they come back, there's not really a parade for the saviors, but there's like there's a lot of thanks for them after they save the village, and she's like, see, you shape your own destiny. That's what I meant all along. Like, psh. I mean, you can say that that's what you meant all along, but
it shows that Aunt Wu doesn't take herself so seriously, even though everyone else does.
Yeah, it doesn't take herself as seriously as like the other people in the village do.
And we can't miss the volcano actually blowing up. I just finished an Avatar: The Last Airbender novel called The Rise of Kyoshi by F.C. Yee, and Michael from the original writers was a co-writer on that project. But what was so cool about the trench digging, number one, Sokka, like, he is always the planner. So I love that, like, even though it's Aang and Katara that reshape the clouds, like, Aang turns to Sokka and is in front of the village and is like, and Sokka has a plan to fix this.
Right.
So he sends everybody, okay, who are my earthbenders? And I, like, just saw this in the book, too. Like, the incredible ability to move massive amounts of earth at once and build, like, moats and trenches. And they just, like, got together with shovels and earthbenders and did the dang thing.
They did the thing, and it was a group effort, obviously, because nobody wants their village to get burnt up by lava. Not really. And if you say you do, prove it.
And unfortunately, that's, like, something we've seen a few times in real Earth in the last few years. Like, Hawaii and the Canary Islands, sure. Like, volcanoes are real things. Mm-hmm. So, relatable.
And earthbenders are not. So it's right. It is relatable, almost scarily relatable at some points. But just like in this episode, I feel like it's this life is choose your own adventure. You shape your own destiny. But then at the same time, if you believe something will happen, then and it's a real thing that could happen, there's a good chance that it will happen.
Yeah. So ultimately, I think this episode, was showing off sort of the determinism that you're talking about, like how much a role do you play in your fate and how much of it is predetermined. And sometimes our interpretations about what is predetermined are not correct.
That's true.
I really like that about this episode. And Aang realizes when, like, Aunt Wu's prediction about the volcano not blowing up wasn't correct, then he's like, so you didn't really read Love in My Future, did you? And that was like a sad little moment.
Womp womp.
But her encouragement is nice. I put that quote down. She said, just as you reshaped those clouds, you have the power to shape your own future.
Notice she's not saying that to Mang. Because Mang is just chilling on the ground as they fly off into the sunset once again. And Mang's like, floozy.
Floozy. I love, like, that just felt very much that age where, like, Mang doesn't have anything against Katara. She thinks she's pretty and she's sweet and she's a good bender and she's clearly smart and they're good friends. But, like, at the end of the day, she's just jealous that her crush is voided by Aang's crush on this beautiful girl.
Right. Exactly. Well, I guess that pretty much sums up the episode, huh? You have any final thoughts?
yeah, I guess as you go into your days, think about what evidence surrounds you for the beliefs you have and what is confirmed by bias of the people around you. That's what I would encourage everyone to be more thoughtful of after this episode.
Philosophical drop.
I know I will
Courtesy wifey.
Heyo. What about you, AJ? Any final thoughts?
You should listen to my music.
Yes!
Yeah, so we're going to plug right now. If you're a fan of the show, you know that sometimes I will come up with songs, sometimes pretty on the fly. And so I have decided to do that, endeavor in that pretty hardcore. If you want to add me on Spotify or however you get your music, you could do that by searching AJ, no spaces, no periods. AJ, and then you do type a space. Capuano. That's my last name. Capuano. Capuano.
AJ space. Capuano.
Yeah, so that's how you're going to find my music. I have one song up right now.
It's cool very song. Good.
You can also check out Liz Falstro, FALSTREAU.
Correct.
Okay. That's a solo artist, big friend of ours. And I wrote and produced her latest song. It's called Oh Well. You can check that out on all your streamers as well.
And more music coming this fall.
And there's more music coming this fall. There's going to be one out by the end of this week. Along
with Atla jingles, of course.
But Atla jingles for
if
days.
You like his jingles, then you will definitely like his music, which is
like my jingles?
Probably more serious than...
But yeah, check it out. All right. Yeah, that's all I had to say.
All right.
About that.
Yeah, guys, thanks for joining us.
Yes.
For this episode, The Fortuneteller, we are very quickly approaching the end of Book 1.
Oh my God.
So expect something exciting as we get into the 3-part finale of this season. I believe we have 1 or 2 more episodes until that point, so... Until next time.
Till next time, yes. Thanks for sticking with us. I'm AJ.
I'm Kaylee.
Atlas Shrugged has just occupied your ears.
Until next time.